Enough. I get it. Some of you clowns did not like what Kirk Herbstreit said about Indiana football. Get over it. What's wrong with you? You know, I always said this even when I was an analyst. Who cares what the analyst says? Like, listen to a college basketball game. If you can listen and take anything away from a single college basketball game this year, other than the game, God bless you. Why do I say that? Because college basketball analysts don't shut up. They refuse. They call it let it breathe. They don't. College football's a little different, though. College football, there's a lot of time in between the plays, so you somewhat have to fill the time. The average college football game has about 11 minutes of action in it over a 3 or 4 hour period. Now, think about that. Think about the time needed to fill. So Kirk Herbstreit, back first weekend of the college football playoff, is watching bad games. And he says, quite frankly, Indiana shouldn't be in it. People have lost their mind. They immediately went to the SEC bias. It used to be the East Coast bias. Now it's the SEC bias because, well, the geniuses have connected the dots that no longer does ESPN hold the rights to the Big Ten. Or maybe some of you didn't know that until then, but now they hold the rights to the SEC. So, of course, they're going to be biased towards the SEC. And maybe that does make some sense. I never believe any of it makes sense. I was there 10 years. I was never told of any bias. I was never told, don't talk about West Coast teams. Don't talk about East Coast teams. Just talk sports. Now, don't talk about West Coast teams. Don't talk about East Coast teams. Just talk about how you're a victim. That's the ESPN way. But Herbstreit's been catching an inordinate amount of hell. And Indiana fans, you've gotten really Purdue-like. You really have. You've become ridiculous. And other fan bases as well. They couldn't wait to run to Herbie when Alabama lost. They couldn't wait to run to Herbie as the SEC did not do great things during the bowl season. And I say enough. Nah, I do. Here's Herbstreit addressing this on the On3 podcast.
Let me straighten the record on one last thing. The ESPN loves the SEC so much that we could not have paid for a better Final Four with Notre Dame and Ohio State and Penn State and Texas. The only one missing is Michigan. If you could somehow wedge Michigan in. So like this idea that we want Alabama and Texas A&M and Auburn, and are you kidding me? Like if you're asking us who we would want, we'll take Ohio State every year, Notre Dame. Like this is a ratings bonanza. So if you're going to accuse us of anything, you should accuse us of wanting Ohio State, wanting Notre Dame, and these big brands. If you knew anything about ratings, that's who you want. You don't want these small little Clemsons and small little Southern schools when it comes to cheering for ratings. Ratings are big, massive Big Ten brands. That's what ratings are.
And Notre Dame, who either people love or hate. Yeah.
If you get Ohio State, Notre Dame in the national championship, you think we're going to be like, doggone it, if we could only gotten a couple good brands in the championship. Just didn't work out this year.
The dude is right. Like, Indiana has like 35,000 people in its school. That, along with Northwestern, is minuscule. Now, I don't know SC in those schools. I don't consider them in yet. But I'm just telling you, when you got 55,000 students and alumni at a football factory like Ohio State, Michigan, that's what you want. I mean, I've said this forever. Be careful, you Alabama fans. I know you got tired of Saban a little bit, but think about this, man. You've had a drought, and you ain't that interesting when you ain't really good. Now, Ohio State, because of the league they play in, is always really good. We talked about that the other day with Ben Hartsock. But the truth of the matter is this. Nobody wants to see Clemson. I'll give you some data here in a second. And I'm glad he finally said it. Even a school like Texas, I'll give you, here's the data. The first round playoff matchup between Clemson, a power, a national champ, Dabo Sweeney, Frank Howard's Rock or whatever the hell it is, Ipte, I pay 10 a year. Against Texas, Longhorns, hook 'em, best little whorehouse in Texas. They've made movies on it. You know what I'm saying? Yay, Rock, go fight, win, huge state. Well, here you go. It aired at 4 o'clock, competed directly against the NFL, Steelers-Ravens, which is a tough compete because Steelers-Ravens, a damn good game historically, aesthetically maybe not, but you're getting good football. Listen to this. It drew 8.6 million viewers across 3 or 4 networks: TNT, TBS, True TV, and Max, according to TNT PR. All right. Hey, seems good. You know what? That's actually less than the Pro Bowl used to rate, a 10. Anyway, I'm digressing here. Listen to this. That audience, Texas, historic, Clemson, Dabo, national champ. Here we go. That was the 15th most watched football game of the season, behind the week before Army-Navy game. Now, I'm going to say that again. You all talk about ratings like you know something. You don't know shit. You don't know nothing. I don't. I've been in this forever, and the ratings are the stupidest thing ever. Like 500, 1,500 people in Indianapolis carry around a little box, and that determines your radio ratings. What? Television ratings, same thing. Nielsen, we're going to pay you $1. It's all stupid, but it's the way they look at things. That audience would rank the 15th most watched college football game of the year, lower than Army-Navy, on CBS. 9.4 mil watched that one. Ratings are big. Ratings are massive brands, Herbstreit said, and he is right. Now, there's 2 different things here. See, Herbie saying, well, Indiana didn't belong based on how they play is frankly what an analyst is supposed to do. And you complaining about that is what a fan is supposed to do. We all, and I'm wearing my Indiana shirt, got jacked up to watch Cignetti's team. First time we've been good. As I told Notre Dame fans that I ran into around here, hey, I get it. We suck. We've had a good year. Leave it. Let it be. Let us have a year. And they would laugh, right? Herbie saying Indiana didn't belong is refreshing as an analyst to me, because we have so much middle of the ground stupidity. Watch a college basketball game. Watch an NFL game. NFL broadcasters, every word is monitored by New York, the commission's office. Don't get a little bit sideways. ESPN was never like that. I'm going to give ESPN great credit. I don't know what it's like to broadcast a game or be in studio for Fox, FS1, that kind of thing. I've never done it. But I know what it's like to be in the studio and at a game for 10 years of ESPN, and never once did they say, hey, man, that was too strong. Even when I called a kid a coward for punching another kid in the back, they told me, hey, don't respond to stupid people. Don't go on a radio show in Iowa and talk about it. I said, okay. But they didn't say that was too strong. See, ESPN, for all its flaws, allows you to speak. And Herbstreit spoke. And he did it. And one of the reasons Herbstreit is the best in the business is because now, I think more than ever, he's not afraid to speak his mind. He did what an analyst is supposed to do. Fans did what they're supposed to do, bitch, whine, and moan. And then it goes to ratings, and you don't know what you're talking about. Every single Ohio State game at noon that Fox had was because that's their best time following up their show. Others might say Saturday night's the best. It's not. The 4 o'clock SEC window has always been the highest rated window. It just is. The 4 o'clock Sunday window, usually the highest rated. But what determines the highest rated isn't necessarily the window. It's who's playing in the window. And why do you think Ohio State played in that noon window every time they were on Fox? Because they're getting the biggest ratings at their best time slot. Not putting Clemson in there. Not putting Auburn in there. Even Alabama. Look, I'm telling you, look it up. Look up David Shula. Look up Mike DeBoer or Mike DeFord or Mike DeBose. Look up some of the guys that coached in Alabama and their success prior to Saban. You'll see what I'm talking about. People think, wow, Alabama, they always win. No. They always won under Saban. Bear Bryant. Gene Stallings, pretty good, won a championship. But they don't always win. And when they don't win, nobody gives a shit about them. Ohio State, different league, different level. In terms of their own conference, they always win. You know, back in the day, I've said this before Urban and before Tressel, actually Tressel, then Urban, the Ohio State coach went 75 to 80%, 75 to 77% of his games. Earl Bruce, 9-3. Here comes Tressel, he wins 80. Here comes Urban, he wins 85. Here comes Ryan Day, he's at 90. I mean, this is historic. They never really went through the period. Even John Cooper, who they all hated, would go 10-2. I mean, they never went through the down period that Alabama did. And watch for it, Alabama fans. You don't think it's coming? We shall see what we shall see. But Herbie's absolutely right. Give me Penn State. Give me Notre Dame. Give me Ohio State. You kidding me? Give me Texas. Throw Texas in there now that they're in the SEC. We'll see. Nah, Herbie's right about that. Get off Herbstreit's ass. And Indiana fans, act like you got some nuts. You ain't got no nuts. If you're just sitting there bitching, whining, and moaning, you're like Michigan State basketball fans. Bitch, whine, and moan about every announcement. Back to Zuckerberg. Y'all didn't watch my video yesterday like you've watched others. I highly recommend it. If you want to see a grown-ass fat man go off on another grown-ass man, billionaire, watch yesterday's video on YouTube and me going off on Zuckerberg, calling him basically everything I can call without getting kicked out of everything. But anyway, Zuck is back. Rolling Stone op-ed's mad, of course. They're mad for a different reason at Zuckerberg. They're not mad that Zuckerberg decided it was, well, his Orwellian task to censor the United States people, the people of the United States. No. Rolling Stone is mad because they're kissing Trump's ass. Let me explain something to you, Rolling Stone op-ed folk. If your ass was 2 seconds away from going to jail and your only out was kissing Donald Trump's ass, let me tell you something. You'd go get ass fat and put in your lips to make your lips so big and juicy that you would suckle on Donald Trump's ass and you would hope he bleached it. So just stop with the stupid. That's all Zuckerberg did. What are you, nuts? So anyway, the tech giant is bringing aboard Dana White, stripping down its content moderation to community notes. Rolling Stone's not happy. They think they're kissing ass, they being Zuckerberg and now Dana White. Good. You better kiss some ass, jackass Zuckerberg. You should be in jail, you clown. Silicon Valley billionaires are scrambling to get into President-elect Donald Trump's good graces, ahead of his inauguration later this month. And no one has embarked on a more blatant bootlicking campaign than Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. You really think it's bootlicking or you think it's self-preservation? There's a big difference. Zuckerberg, you take out the potential of going to jail. See, I could see something spun in if Trump and the Department of Justice said, you know what, Zuckerberg, what you did was illegal. Look, I'm not a legal ease person, but I do know this. I don't think you can have a company that suppresses the people of the United States and get away with that, at least without some kind of litigation. Anyway, if there are any doubts that the changing policies were meant to appease Trump, they should be, who just months ago threatened, listen to this, here it comes, to jail Zuckerberg over accusations of election interference. See what I did there? I said this yesterday because I'm smarter than everybody. I pay attention. I don't come off as smart. I know what I look like. But if you listen to what I'm telling you, it always comes to fruition. That's why I don't do overreactions, because I tell you what's going to happen before it does, and there it is. Newly minted Meta Chief of Global Affairs, Joe Kaplan, lauded the incoming president in an exclusive interview with Fox on Thursday morning. Of course he did. Pull this, it plays jingle bells. These people aren't fools. They're evil. They're diabolical. They suck. But they're not fools. And the last thing Mark Zuckerberg wants, anybody wants, is to go to the can. But he's got too much money and too much access. So he used his money to gain access, and he used that access to kiss the ass of Trump and change his ways, which a lot of people are lauding, including my wife. Me too. Good for you, but you still should have your ass in jail. How dare you censor the American people? Did I sound like Kamala Harris there? Did I? How dare you say Merry Christmas, jackass? Meta has already donated $1 million to Trump's inaugural fund, and Zuckerberg flew to Mar-a-Lago to dine with the president-elect, members of his transition team, shortly after his victory in November. Smart by both. This week, Zuckerberg escalated his overture to Trump's incoming administration, announcing the appointment of UFC CEO and MAGA diehard Dana White. Good. About time we got some men with the great American penis in there, the company's board of directors, at least a video outlining major changes to Facebook's fact-checking policy. Now, Zuckerberg accused his fact-checkers, actually accused himself, of being too politically biased and having destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the United States. No shit, Sherlock. You know the difference, I say it all the time, between an alt-right conspiracy theory, alt-far-right conspiracy theory, and the truth is, about 6 months, wait for it, it's going to come true. But here's the kicker in all this. You know, Rolling Stone and other liberal rags, as they call them, are always so quick to jump at the money when it becomes money to conservatives. They're always so quick to talk about billionaires. Didn't I just see George Soros get a Medal of Honor? Didn't I? I don't know. Last I looked, he was buying and selling every prosecutor in our country. Didn't I see that? I think I did. Anyway, listen to this. Bill Gates. They don't talk about Bill Gates. Why don't they talk about Bill Gates in this number I'm going to give you? Donated over $319 million to mainstream media, including the BBC. Why is nobody ever complaining about Bill Gates' interference? Because they are bought and paid for. It's like, why aren't you ever going to hear about Big Pharma anymore? Because 75% of the commercials you see on TV, as my wife adroitly pointed out to me, are Big Pharma commercials. But why doesn't anybody bitch, whine, and moan? Where's Rolling Stone about the influence peddling of Bill Gates, of George Soros? See, this is why we, all of us with a thinking mind and the great American penis of a JJ, can't trust anybody in the media other than OutKick, truly. Imagine me speaking like this at NBC, CNBC, or MSNBC, or any other of these clown shows. You can't. The truth of the matter is we don't want the truth. The truth of the matter is there's projection. Remember? J.D. Vance, weird, as Tim Walz walks out there with jazz hands and his wife is all goofy telling people. It's just insanity. So now we project all of our disdain on Mark Zuckerberg. Once the liberal hero. Boy, oh boy, and think about this, after the 2016 election, put on your thinking cap. Who won that election? Donald Trump. That's right. Over who? Hillary Clinton. What is Hillary Clinton, if nothing else? The absolute liberal establishment with her idiot husband, Bill. BJ Bill, as we call him in our house. Anyway, I don't know if we do or not. Anyway, they loved Zuckerberg. He was their guy. Political pressure he was susceptible to. Biden administration turned up the heat. Come with us. Come with me, you see, come with me. And he did. So he started crushing the souls and the bank accounts of conservative-based sites, conservative-based people, ruining lives. In some cases, people committed suicide. In some cases, businesses had to fold. Like OutKick lost millions of dollars because of Zuckerberg's heinous actions. But now we're mad at Zuckerberg. But we don't even look at Bill Gates. We don't even pay attention to maybe America's most corrupt human being. Why is that? Well, he's on the liberal side. And your media, other than us and others like us, Fox, bought and paid for. We're not. They are. It's sad, really. But we all understand it, don't we? I think we do. I think we all understand it. Hey, Sexy Rexy Ryan, he of the great foot fetish, he's all in on himself. I always say this. I was telling one of my many children yesterday, if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is. I think the only time that I've ever advocated for myself and it hasn't gone well is I sent a message to both Eric Shanks and Brad Zager, who are the head of FS1, asking, can I get a game occasionally as an analyst like I did at ESPN? I don't want to do it full time, but occasionally. And it's gotten to the point now where I don't even hear back from them. And I kind of laugh. Last one I sent was, hey, this is like doing a radio show, texting you two guys. You're kind of talking to yourself, but I soldier on. The only time I ever did not advocate for myself, well, frankly, was that. That hasn't worked. I remember texting Clay. I remember calling Kent Sterling to get a radio job. I didn't have to with ESPN because I was so damn good they came to me. But Sexy Rexy Ryan is advocating for himself. Sexy Rexy Ryan is feeling strong about his chances to be the next Jets coach. How about that? I'm going to get into this with my man Nick. We haven't seen Nick in a few weeks. I think he's ducking us. But anyway, he's already laying down the law. Now, think about this. He's already letting the world know what his rules will be, and it's going to be some tough rules if he is the Jets head coach. It ain't going to be a country club, Sexy Rexy said. If the keys to the franchise are once again handed to Big Rex, says Rex, vowing to clean up the mess caused by the entire Rodgers debacle. Here is my favorite for the Jets job, only if the Jets are smart enough to hire Ryan Grigson. That would be one tough-ass duo. Here's Sexy Rex.
You think you're going to get this job, right? You think you're going to be the next head coach of the Jets?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely, I do. And the reason I think I'm going to get it is because I'm the best guy. And it ain't close. The thing that you have to do, you have to connect with a football team. You have to connect with your fan base. And the way they play, that's the most important thing. Not just the X's and O's and all that. Look, this Ben Johnson, I love him. I absolutely love him. But I'm a better candidate for this job than he would be.
There you go. For this job. Good for him, man. Now, we have talked about on this show that the candidates for head coaching positions in the NFL is about as weak as it's ever been. And the only guy that anybody mentions with any fervor is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Lions. And Sexy Rexy knows that because he knows that when he says he's the best candidate, immediately New York media is going to say, hey, what about Ben Johnson? So he addressed that. Smart. It's like when Greg Doyle did an article on me, he was afraid that I was going to talk about his myriad of affairs. So he put one in the article thinking that covered it. So he, Rex, got rid of the entire conversation of Ben Johnson. Look, I already talked about Ben Johnson, he would say, but this isn't the right job for him. Clearly, Rex Ryan said on the 2024 Jets, here's what he had to say. Clearly, when you have a guy that doesn't show up for mandatory minicamp, talking about Aaron Rodgers, and by the way, he's your quarterback coming off an injury, I think that's an absolutely ridiculous message. You send it to a team. If he comes back, things are going to be different. If he's back, it ain't going to be the country club. Show up whenever the hell you want to show up. That ain't going to happen. I'll just leave it at that. That right there is why I'm starting to laugh at all of the people telling me Robert Saleh is a great candidate for other teams. Right there. Robert Saleh may be a fantastic defensive mind, and by all accounts he is. Robert Saleh would certainly check the boxes of minority. I think he's Mideastern or whatever. Fine. But his biggest failure, and this is a massive failure, is not standing up to players. When you don't stand up to your best player, or if you don't, as Pat Riley said, get the best player to align with you. That's the number one thing you got to do in basketball. I assume it's the same thing in football. Get the best player in alignment with you, and most of your troubles are solved. Robert Saleh failed at that. He was too soft. And when you're soft, I don't care if it's a 41-year-old quarterback who's been in the league 100 years and is going to the Hall of Fame, they're going to take advantage. Kindness is weakness. We'll see. A lot of talk. Sexy Rexy sitting behind a table. Good for him. We'll see what happens. Hey, family business turned ugly. Why is it always the same people? Remember our guy? Oh, no, wait. As Sheil Seidel, wife of deceased Padres owner Pearsall Seidler, has sued her two brothers-in-law of hoping to gain control of the Padres. Here we go. Yeah, here comes the wife, baby. The husband's dead. Two brothers want the program. She wants the program. I married the guy. I married the owner. I spread my legs. I deserve. It's probably more than that. I don't know. But let's be honest, that's how it appears on the outside. This is like a cliche. And cliches are cliches because, well, they happen often. So, dead husband, wife wants the goods, wife wants the franchise, brothers want it. Here we go. In a complaint filed in Texas probate court, Seidler, sorry, I'm screwing the whole thing up, say that 10 times, claims she and her 3 children have been effectively ostracized from the organization since her husband Peter's death 14 months ago. The suit names Robert and Matthew Seidler as defendants, accusing the brothers of fiduciary breaches of trust, fraud, conversion, and egregious acts of self-dealing. A lot of you self-deal at home. Stop it. Your mom might walk in their roles as trustee and executive of Peter Seidler's estate. All right. The Padres announced December 21st that Peter's oldest brother, John Seidler, would become the team's control person, which Shield opposed and claims went against her late husband's wishes. So she's saying, hey, look, my husband didn't want this. There's a very easy way to figure all that out. It's called a will. Huh? What? Yeah, it is. It's called a will. Last will and testament. Put it in writing, put it in a vault, get it notarized, and away you go. What? You guys are rich. Should be cut and dried. Don't you have attorneys? What? I guess you can contest wills. Anyway, A's, the holder of the largest individual ownership stake in the Padres and sole beneficiary of Seidler Trust, which possesses the exclusive rights with respect to control of the franchise, I am seeking to be named controlling person of the Padres Cheryl Seidler wrote in part of her letter. The statement from a spokesperson of the Peter Seidler Trust, which controls the Padres, calls the complaint, close your eyes and wait for it, entirely without merit. Who doesn't love this? Raise your hand. Who doesn't love this? I don't know. Why have the Rooneys always figured out how to pass that bad boy Steeler operation down the line? Virginia McCaskey turned like 172 the other day, and her son's running it. I mean, how are we able to do all this? Everybody had husbands, right? But I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like the Padres are always in flux. Nobody pays less attention to the Padres since 1984 when Steve Garvey hit a home run and Leon the Bull Durham of the Cubs let one go through the wickets and one bounced over Sandberg's head. And, well, my naked ass couldn't run around the neighborhood drinking beers. But I digress. I don't pay attention to him, but I do when Fernando Tatis gets suspended for half a year for PEDs. I do when they have an ownership scrape, a harumph, a kerfuffle. I think it's pretty funny. Peter had a clear estate. The plan specifically named 3 of his 9 siblings. That's too many kids. His mother was seeing way too many ceilings. With whom he had worked closely for many decades as successor trustees of his trust. Peter himself prohibited Shield from ever serving as trustee. The trustee is exclusively responsible for designating the Padres' next control person. Statement alleged that Shield agreed in sworn document 2020 that she had no right to be or to designate the control person and that she would not interfere with the designated control person. The statement alleges that Shield stated in May 2024, John Seidler would be the best control person for the Padres. Seems cut and dried. Yeah, it does. Seems cut and dried. We'll see what happens. It's always fun, though. I like this kind of stuff. As the Padres turn, all right, this story is amazing. And this story, I'm going to give you a personal story that coincides with this story. Do you remember back, I don't know when it was back in the preseason, Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver. He's a wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. He got shot and he missed training camp, and people really, were like, wow, is this guy going to die? He got shot on a nice area, if there is such a thing, in San Francisco. So Ricky Pearsall now wants to meet with the teenager who shot him. He hopes he can make a positive impact on the troubled teen and have him turn his life around before it's too late. My college roommate was a guy named Uwe Block. Uwe was a 7'2" German that came over from Germany to Effingham, Illinois, and then made his way to Indiana, and he became a first-round draft choice. Played in the NBA. I don't know how many years ago. I think it was like 2010. No, hell no. Yeah, it was probably 2010. I'm working at the Big Ten Network. I get a call from Uwe. Danny, I don't know why I'm calling you. Okay. My son's been killed. I go, what are you talking about? Christian has been killed. I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, came home for Christmas break, was at a party like all kids are. Some kid sucker punched him after an argument. He was dead before he hit the ground. I immediately flew out there with a guy who's been on our show, Roger Wallace. He's the Texas Longhorns radio analyst. Immediately went out there. We went to the funeral. We did all that stuff. Okay. I'm going to hold on to that story for just a second. Pearsall gets shot. Pearsall wants to talk to the teenager. I don't know how he grew up, so I can't judge him as a man based on one action that he made. As violent a crime as it was, God forbid him doing it to somebody else. I don't ever want that to happen. For me, just to be being able to forgive him at the end of the day, like I have to be able to forgive him, to have that weight taken off my chest. How good a dude is Ricky Pearsall? Wow. He has the guilt on his chest of being shot by somebody else. At some point, I do want to talk to the kid and make sure that if I can create an impact on him in any way, I think that would be really big. I think I'd definitely be open to doing that for sure. Back to my story about my friend Uwe Blah. Trial starts, or trial, getting ready to go to trial. Uwe calls me, he goes, hey, Danny, I always go to his accent. What do you think if I don't press charges, but on the condition that I get to meet with him? I said, what are you going to do? And I knew Uwe wasn't going to punch him or anything like that. He goes, I just want to talk to him, forgive him. And I said, wow, I'm getting goosebumps right now. That's deep, man. I go, well, why? He goes, Danny, he always called me Danny. Do you remember when we were in college and I hit you in the balls? And I said, yeah. He said, you tackled me onto your car and we were throwing punches. What if one of those punches landed and I killed you or you killed me? We're not bad people. We just did a stupid thing. And we did a lot of stupid things. And I'm like, Said the kid who had a history, a little bit of violence, the kid needs help. And I want to help him. So Uwe did that. He talked to the kid. He did not press charges. The kid now married, couple children. Uwe keeps tabs. I think from afar. I don't think he talks to him all the time. But it's an unbelievable, incredible heart that Uwe Blop has and Ricky Pearsall has. The 17-year-old senior was charged with attempted murder in the Pearsall shooting. Was arraigned back in September. He also faces assault with a semi-automatic weapon and attempted secondary burglary charges on top of the other gun-related charges. He's generally sorry that this happened. As his family, and I can say on their behalf, as well as on his own behalf, our thoughts go out to the Pearsall family, Mr. Pearsall himself. So there is genuine remorse in that regard. He is a young boy. I don't know. Could you do it? I don't know. My son. I don't know. Be tough. The GOAT of first ladies, I'm glad to see that Melania Trump, who is the hottest woman to ever be anywhere near politics, has signed a whopping $40 million deal. Good things come to those who wait. While we all had a look at Michelle Obama's arms and have every woman go, oh my God, how beautiful she is. While Melania Trump's standing right there, we had to watch Jill Biden do another $1 million dress on Vogue magazine. There's the most beautiful woman, smartest woman ever to occupy the position of first lady, sitting right there. And none of these douchebag magazines, none of these, horrific human beings that run these magazines would touch Melania Trump because the horrific human beings that read these magazines wouldn't like it. So here's the most beautiful woman, smart, 5 languages, demure, classy, full of grace, now getting a $40 million deal. Now, how about that? The documentary going to be on Amazon as Donald and son Barron are expected to be featured prominently in the new show that will give viewers a look in the daily life of the world's most powerful woman. She's been very savvy about what she says. Melania has gotten more comfortable speaking in front of people and on TV, the source said. She's more confident and has taken full control of her public image, which she knows is worth millions, and she's ready to be paid for the work she puts into the doc and revealing more about herself. Good, I want to know more about her. I don't need to know about Michelle Obama. Who gives a rat's ass? We know what they are about. They are about corruption and lying. I want to see what this is about. I'm also told her deal also gives her a piece of the back end and that her husband helped construct the project, the source said, referring to the practice of sharing in profits from a film once production costs had been recouped. Amazon founder, chief executive chairman Jeff Bezos apparently took a personal interest in the doc, which our source said has helped him get back on friendly terms once again with Donald Trump. How about that? Everybody's kind of kissed the ring. Good. Melania has carefully limited and controlled both her image and access to her, which has driven public interest. Less is more. By being removed from constant public exposure and being mysterious, she's driven up both the interest in her everyday life, and that has driven up her price. Good for her. She's private to the core, but willing to put to use what she learned from her days as a model and as a wife of a master marketer. President Donald Trump fully supports her project. See, I think it's freaking awesome. I would watch. I think she's a beautiful, interesting, really intelligent woman. And if you really get on social media, and I don't know what I did to deserve this, I got to plug this in. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but I got every little hoochie girl showing her ass coming at me on X. I don't know why. I know I'm very handsome, particularly with this tan. I know I'm something to look at, particularly with this layer of fat. But the facts of the matter are Melania Trump is gorgeous. She's classy. She's demure. She's smart. And I am fascinated on what goes on a daily basis. And I'll say something else. You can kiss my ass with this. All you got to do is look at the kids. You know, everybody talked about J.D. Vance being weird. Look at his family. Everybody rips over Trump. Look at his family. Compare that to what's going on with those clowns over there with the Bidens. Compare that with, I don't know what the hell that thing is that the Walzes have raised. I don't know. Compare those two things and you'll be like, whoa, hang on, caller. What are we doing? Anyway, good for Amazon.